How y'all doing? For my next review, there is the latest story arc from Ricardo Delgado's Age of Reptiles series. This one I have here, the Omnibus Volume 1, that contains all of his stories up until his new one, which came out late 2015, early 2016. And I just got the trade version not too long ago of Age of Reptiles, Ancient Egyptians. Okay, what does that mean? What do you mean, ancient Egyptians? Well, this is a story involving dinosaurs that take place in Egypt in the Cretaceous. Now, we think Egypt as a vast desert as that it is today, but it wasn't always so, of course. Landscapes change. During the Cretaceous, Egypt was set on the southern part of what is called the Tethys Sea, which is this great ocean path, which the Mediterranean is about a small portion of it that remains today. And in here, Egypt at that point in time was like a mangrove forest, which is kind of a semi-coastal swamp. And if you look up mangrove forest, you get an idea what the Cretaceous looked like at the time. We know this because of all the research we've done there. And the main character is a Spinosaurus, although not focused on his stories. His inspiration as far as the story setup is like his first story arc, tribal warfare, but this time it has another dinosaur that gets trying to do its own thing and gets caught in the middle of their actions, and trouble just seems to come to him. The setup is similar to Akira Kurosawa's famous Yojimbo, starred Toshiro Mifune. If you don't know that story, that is it's one of the samurai films where Toshiro Mifune plays a Ronin, a master samurai, wanders into this corrupted town, and led by two rival gangs trying to trying to overtake each other. So Toshiro Mifune, Yojimbo, he hires himself as a bodyguard to one, manipulates both sides to where to go at each other's throats and rid the town of these guys. Ricardo Delgado takes that premise, where someone comes into this troubled area and interferes with what two main problems with that is. He sets it up with this. Spinosaurus here, he goes around, he goes around, finds his own food, finds his own place to sleep, and he even finds a mate. But in the course of this, there are these two rival groups of dinosaurs, Carcharodontosaurus, which is basically an Allosaurus relative of northern Africa, very huge, about the size of a T-Rex, give or take. There's arguments about, because its size is slightly larger than a T-Rex by a couple of feet. Ooh, like who cares once, if it's a tiger or a cheetah or a lion, who cares if it's after you and it can take you down? What matters is how long it is. There's also, and they got to one group of that and another group of parallotitans, which are these huge sauropods that are found in Egypt. So all the characters in this exist in Egypt at this time. So it's a very interesting thing. And in this book, not only do you have the 4 issues combined together, it also has a couple of essays. It has a foreword by Alan Dean Foster, writer. Also, foreword by Barbara S. Grandstaff, PhD. She gives the introduction to the setting of Egypt at that time. And at the end of this, past the cover pages, where it just shows the cover of the individual issues that they start out in, he gives his own concept art, and also some essays that Ricardo Delgado did through each issue. Let's see, the revolver and the katana. He talks about Yojimbo, the agony of Guanji, and Alajuela. Sorry, my Spanish is not very good. It talks about his inspiration, his childhood memories, what he liked about Westerns, what he didn't like about Westerns. Bear in mind, he's Latino. Bahariya Formation, another stub. Bahariya is an oasis in the middle of Egypt today, which a lot of paleontology stuff was found. So there you go. You see from the slideshow some of the artwork, and it's something I've noticed about Ricardo Delgado's progression into this series. The first 2 story arcs, the Tribal Warfare and the Hunt, the art style is, I would say, less line work within the art. Case in point, I'll take a look at this one, and sorry for the glare. This particular character, you see there's a lot of smooth area, like in the white, there's no lines and everything. So, but there's, plenty of, there's enough detail in that comic sense. Or in case of, this cliff, you see, you see a lot of smoothness in the colorations, not so much drawn or anything. But if you look at the journey, or in this case, this story, everything, he seems to put in more lines to fill in than normal. I guess you could, at first glance, it almost looks more crude than his previous work. But I think it works to give out the lushness of the environment, like here. I mean, just look at all, there's not much smoothness. There's like constant lines within it. Even on the belly, there's, constant line work in that. You can see what I mean when as you go along. It's just something I notice, and it doesn't detract from it. He still tells the stories the same way. There are no onomatopoeia sounds. No, when it opens his mouth, it doesn't say roar, like that. It's just, if it makes a sound, it opens his mouth. You see a series of lines that represent sound comes, but there's no wording, no narration. It is all straight up to your imagination. So it's very good for kids to read. Okay, now, if you're wanting this for your kids, here's kind of a drawback. Because unless your kids are very understanding how nature works, how cruel it can be, you may want to be careful, especially when it comes to how they feel about baby animals being eaten and killed. In this one in particular of Ancient Reptiles, they do it, the rival tribes, there's the same where Ricardo Delgado steals baby sauropods, and not only eats it, but they set one up to serve as for a younger Ricardo Delgado to try and attack its first kill. There's scenes like that. It's very gruesome. It's not going to be polite about it, but it's not so gratuitous. Which kind of leads to my next thought about Ricardo Delgado's progression. In the earlier ones, like the Tribal Warfare and the Hunt, you could see in facial expressions strongly more anthropomorphized expressions. Dinosaurs wouldn't have much facial movement. Just how earlier reptiles are. You don't see, it's a smile of a crocodile, but that's the shape of his mouth sort of thing. You don't see him go, that sort of thing. But he kind of did that, more so in the earlier stories than he does later ones. He still does it a little bit, but less so. You can see the way the eyes are closed and all that, but, you can see in the Paralotitan leader, which has jowls, hanging off of it, which is an interesting artistic touch, I agree. But not so much evidence about that in real life, kind of looks like Marlon Brando in a sense. It reminds me of him. But you can still see a little bit of the eyes, but it's, of human expression. So it may have more size and action. So I think he's trying to improve himself away from his earlier work from that. And I think that's why some of those issues he had when an interview he did for Prehistoric Times, that his earlier stuff, he didn't know how to tell. He kind of criticized a bit compared to his later stuff. But there you go. If you love dinosaurs, love comics, and you want something that's not as silly like Dinosaurs for Hire. Remember coming back in the 90s. I never read any, but I've seen the advertisements and stuff like that. So that's fun when you're a kid. But if you want something that tells a story about dinosaurs in a dinosaur setting, give this one a shot. I mean, pick up the Omnibus Volume 1 from Dark Horse. Dark Horse Comics produces all this. So if you get this one, the Omnibus, that contains all of his stuff, the Hunt, the Tribal Warfare, and the Journey. And the new one is you can get in one single trade paperback, Ancient Egyptians. Ricardo Delgado's Age of Reptiles, very good read, 4 issues, relatively fast but enjoyable all the way through. Thank you all for watching. You have a nice day.